Welcome to Friday Sews. I'm Caroline and this is Sweet Pea Sewing. Thanks to Jen at Today in Jen's Sewing Room for creating the hashtag Friday Sews, where we can come together, talk about what we've been up to during the week and a little bit about our life. So let me get started with a couple of recent makes. I made these dresses for my granddaughters. They still need to be hemmed, but I thought they turned out quite cute. Now, this is Simplicity 9321, and it is basically this option right here with sleeves. Originally, I was going to make them sleeveless, but I took so long to make them. I think I started on this in June, or I had plans for it in June, that I decided to add sleeves, and hopefully they can get some wear out of it, but I think they'll probably still fit them next spring and summer. I hope so. The younger one anyway. This sushi fabric, which is fabulous, my older granddaughter Madison picked out. So isn't it cute? Just love it. Here's a picture of them in it. And I think it turned out pretty well. Yeah, the pleating up here, it's not hard at all. It is a little bit finicky and time consuming with that and the binding, but overall I think it turned out quite well. And not to leave their younger brother out, I had made pajamas for him out of dinosaurs, and here's a picture of him wearing those, and he was just thrilled. Now let's talk about our sewing space. I have struggled so much to keep my sewing space, my sewing room, neat. Before I retired, this room was my office, and I had a whole bunch of knickknacks of all different kinds in it. Some hobbies that I'd started over the years, but just really never had the time. You know, it's really hard when you work full time to really be able to give as much time to crafts as you would like. When I retired, I dove into a whole bunch of crafts, and I'm actually going to do a whole separate video on that, but suffice to say, this room was filled to the brim with all sorts of odds and ends and half-started crafts, and it was driving me nuts. And another thing that I had a big problem with was the lighting. As you get older, your eyes just don't absorb, reflect light as well as they did when you were younger. And so I decided this past week to clean everything out of this room except for my sewing things, because right now that's what I'm focusing on. I want to get back to my other crafts, but right now I want this room to reflect only sewing, and I'm lucky enough to have a dedicated room for sewing, and I realize that not everybody has that. But I wanted to show you sort of how bad it had got in my mind, how cluttered and overwhelmed. It really kind of affects your brain and things don't go as smoothly. So here's a picture that I took right before I decided to clean it up. It's pretty overwhelming. There's stuff everywhere, and it was a mess, and it was really playing with my focus on getting things done. So what I did this past week with my husband's help is I cleaned everything out of here that didn't apply to sewing, and it is a lot. And I moved it into the end of my family room, and I'm going to have to go through all that at some point and purge it, organize it, donate it. There's a lot there. And I also moved a lot of excess fabric that I want to keep and I want to organize better, but I just wanted it out of here. I still have some fabric in here, you know, along the shelf behind me, and in a couple of shelving, IKEA shelving, but for now I just didn't want to be overwhelmed by it. And I also wanted to try and organize it for better light. 3 key areas that I found that I was really struggling with light was over my cutting board and at my sewing machines and at my ironing board. There were a lot of shadows which are just drive me nuts. Now I have a great big window for natural light, which helps enormously, although it is darker, of course, at this time of year, and there are trees outside that window, so it does get a bit dark in here. And at night, it's a whole nother ball game. So I've moved everything around in the room, and here's a couple of pictures of how it looks now. My cutting table is out in the open rather than against the wall. I've moved my sewing machines under the window, and so the natural light can help. And then to the left of my sewing machines, I have my pressing area. And I have a great big light over that whole area, the sewing machines and the ironing area, so I think that'll help a lot along with the natural light. I would like to get a different ceiling light. My husband had replaced the one. It's just one of those round ones, but apparently there's panel lights that you can get that really make a huge difference. And I'd love to hear what other people do for lighting, especially for ceiling lighting and for that kind of work, because I love that kind of lighting, a really good lighting there, because it really is the starting point for good lighting. So that was quite exhausting, but very inspiring at the same time to get my sewing room all set up like this. It'll probably look like who knows what in another week or so, right? Because we love to sew, it's hard to stop and clear everything up, but I do feel that because I've removed so much stuff that I don't use regularly, I think it'll help a lot. So yeah, that was what I got up to this week. But let me tell you a little bit more about life and a little funny story that I have. So I had my grandkids over recently to babysit them while their parents had a date night. And my 8-year-old granddaughter has developed a fear of the trees. Our property has great big fir trees, fir and cedar trees all around it. They're gigantic. And we have a forested area. And for some reason, she's got quite fearful of this forested area. She stayed overnight a few times. Who knows what she's maybe seen on TV or whatever. But it's kind of made her very, very nervous. Now, I have to laugh because during the summer we had a lot of cougar sightings here. Cougar and bear, but more cougar. Cougars in Canada, I think they're called mountain lions otherwise. Very, very scary animal. And I had to laugh because my daughter and son-in-law, they had a cougar in the summertime walk across their backyard. And here's a little video of it. And the kids watched it walk across. They had just been out not long before that. So I had to say to her, I'm not the one that had the cougar in my backyard. But anyway, who knows where these kind of fears come from. But I thought, how am I going to help her through this? So I thought I'd come up with a little magical forest treasure hunt. And I came up with this little, I didn't come up with it myself, AI helped me, but this little treasure map of 5 spots that I would put a little treat or a little toy that they could discover. And I put them all over my property and including back in the forest quite far. And they loved that. I felt like it made a big step towards helping her with her fear. I told her that her mom and her uncles played all the time out there. They had a fort when they were small. So I think that's helped her. We'll have to do it step by step because I don't want to force her. I don't ever want to force her because I think it'll make it worse. But I hope you enjoy the original map showing all of the hints, where to go, and then them finding them. It really was fun. Take care. Happy Friday, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.